Don't talk.
All right.
Welcome into College Football Live. Christine Williamson here with David Pollack and Desmond Howard. And there was breaking news right before we got on the set today. So to talk about it, we're going to bring in Pete Thamel. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of an expansion very soon. Pete, you tweeted about it. What exactly can you tell us?
Christine, the expanded college football playoff is coming finally. At least in 2026 and potentially earlier, the college football playoff is going to expand from 4 teams to 12. This has been about a year and a half of a tortured process that's involved commissioner infighting and quintessential college football politics. But in the end, the College Football Playoff Board of Managers met at 2 o'clock today. They voted unanimously for the field to expand to 12. Now, the thorny issue, Christine, is 24 and 25. Can that happen? That's some contracts and logistics. But for right now, the playoff is expanded. And the question now will loom when.
So, what do we know about the automatic qualifiers, like when your conference in?
Yeah, David, great question. So the model that had been populated in June of 2021 with 12 teams, 6 of the highest rated conference champions, and then 6 at-large bids. Mm-hmm. So it's all very similar to the granular of home sites and that kind of thing. I think there still are some logistics to work out. But for the most part, the model that was expected and then debated has now returned because of money.
You know what? It's really interesting you mentioned money. This is going to generate a lot more revenue. We all know that.
Right.
They don't do a deal without knowing the financials. I want to know, you may not know the answer right now, but eventually I want to know, where is this extra revenue going? So that never comes out. People want to know, well, who's the qualifiers and who's this and which conference is going to get in there? Mm-hmm. I want to know about the revenue.
Where does Des want to go?
Yeah, exactly. Where
do you want to go?
Where are those exactly?
Where do you want to
the
go?
Money? Come on, who's out there doing it, making it happen?
I think so.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if I'm the
players, I want to know, because listen, there's never a deal that's done when the financials aren't discussed and they don't know it to the penny. So trust me, they understand. That's what really takes all the time. Mm-hmm. It's not about, well, is it going to be the conference championship? How many conference champs? Is it going to be these? No, they need to know how we're going to split up this pie.
So I agree with you, Desmond. They have not decided on a contract yet. What's going to happen with this iteration of the playoff that's going to be different than the last one is that with 12 teams, there's been a strong push to bring in 2 television networks. Obviously, ESPN owns the college football playoff now and broadcasts the 3 games of the 4-team field. At least 2 revenue partners, because much like the NFL, college football is falling on the NFL path. We see it in how it's
100%.
Formed, and we see it how it's televised.
Yep.
And so the NFL playoffs are now chopped up into multiple different networks.
Yep.
The college football playoff and Fox and ESPN would obviously be the primary suitors for that.
Yeah.
But obviously, CBS and NBC have shown renewed interest in college football in the last couple of weeks. There's always big Amazon floating out there, Apple. Right. We all have these in our hands.
All y'all come get it, because the bottom line is, if you're out there and you're thinking about it, more football is good.
Right.
Like more football is better. Yeah. And listen, we got to find a way to make it right for the players and the schedules and all that stuff. Yeah. But I mean, every year there's a team at the end of the year, Des, we're going, man, if they got a shot, they might be hot. They might get hot and win this thing.
Exactly.
Well, now we're going to see it.
Yeah,
we're going to see the same cast.
Hey, you know what? Now it's more work for us, because in a couple of years they're going to say, okay, now who's the final 12 teams?
That makes the conversation a little bit better, but I am
Who's the last 4 left out?
I'm curious for you guys. Obviously, as you mentioned, Pollack, if this works for the teams and the players and stuff like that, do you like the fact that we're expanding to 12 teams?
Oh, heck yeah. I do. I think it's awesome. Listen, it sucks for, I mean, look at this.
Right, exactly. We need to look at this. Exactly.
I mean, you're still going to get a lot of buys from the top 4 teams that you would have had this past year, but Notre Dame and Pitt, Ohio State and Utah, Baylor and Michigan State, it'll be fun to watch. And then, listen, I don't think, to be clear, I don't think this changes the outcomes at all. I think we're still going to get the same teams that are winning the championship, and it's the same teams we debate every single year. But I do like that it'll be more teams in the college football, more exposure, more fun for those players.
I've never been a big fan of expansion, simply because I never really want the student athletes to play more games.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now with the, the NIL and you got the transfer portal, I think that it was just inevitable that this was going to happen. Now, with that being said, I don't know. We may start to get some different teams out there. I'm kind of happy now we get different dancers now to the party, because this is when upsets happen. You just never know. This gives the opportunity now for some smaller teams or some teams that would not have been invited to get in there and maybe pull off an upset now, every now and then. So we'll see. It'll be fun, though.
I feel like the biggest complaint for people that didn't like expansion, the idea of expansion, is the first few games possibly being blowouts, and we're not actually getting good college football games. Yeah. Des, you just said that you can get some upsets. Do you feel like we're going to see a lot of that with this expansion?
I think we'll get an upset here and there. Just like the Final Four and the NCAA basketball tournament, we always get some upsets. So I think we'll get some upsets here and there.
David?
No.
You said it's going to look exactly the same. You said it's going to look exactly the same.
How many upsets have we had in the college football Final Fours?
That's true.
Yeah, but that's only 4 teams, right? That's only 4 teams.
But they're beat down
only
in the
4 teams.
semifinals.
Yeah.
They're never upsets.
higher-ranked teams
I would say
playing
this, if you have the
lower-ranked teams.
6th best team against the 11th best team, and that is a Boise State that is 13-0 in a lead, or a San Diego State. The problem is those levels, the best teams have earned their way up. Like UCF had a great run. Houston had a great run. They got pulled up. BYU's obviously now on the other side of the fence there, too. So it'll be interesting to see of that next group who can cut through and steal one of those 6 spots as a highest-rated conference champion. Because it's not an automatic bid if you win the league. It's the highest-rated conference champion from those top 6 leagues. So I do think some fresh faces is good for the sport. I do think some new energy. If San Diego State marches in and goes and plays, 6th-ranked Georgia or something like that. Like, that's fun to kind of see that and give it a little bit of that underdog juice. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you as 17-point underdogs they're going to win.
One thing you have to take into consideration is that injuries happen too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Injuries happen. The more times you play games, the more likely you're going to get injured. And so there may be an injury here. Look what happened to Alabama last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
They lost one of their top receivers in the SEC championship game, and then the next game, the national championship game, they lost their other top receiver.
Right.
Imagine if they had to play another game had they won that game. Yeah. So injuries happen too, and that leads to upsets.
Yeah. I do want to ask one more question. We have to bump very soon, but you know how going into bowl season, a lot of teams, players would decide to go on and bow out, go into the NFL draft a little bit earlier. Do you feel like this renews college football a little bit when it comes to that perspective?
It keeps more people in the games.
Right.
There's a reason to fight.
Yeah.
There's a reason down the stretch your season matters. Like a lot of these people that choose to do it and choose to walk away is because they're not playing for anything. Now they go, I'm going to go get ready for my draft. Yeah. Well, Des, if you're still in it, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I can still be one of the 11? I can still be one of the 12. So obviously that's a great thing for college football because bigger names, bigger brands being a part of it, 100%.
Right.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.